Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Timeless Podcast bonus pod, sort of, because you're getting two in 1 week. I'm here with John, Beef, and Connor, and that's the order that they're on my screen. And today we're here to talk about Time Fracture, the immersive experience that the Immersive Everywhere team have created, and BBC Entertainment have also created themselves. We're going to talk about that. Don't worry, there'll be minor spoilers here. So if you don't know anything, probably kick away just in case we trip up and we say things that you probably don't want to hear. But we're going to keep as far away from spoilers as possible and not reveal the certain things you might want to go to experience for. But we're here to talk about more things as an experience as a whole. So how we enjoyed it, what we'd say, especially on mine and John's end, of if you're either got a disability or something like that, how you can enjoy the show, and also just overall what an experience is like at Time Fracture, because it's something to behold. How are you guys doing, first of all? I'll go from anyone who wants to say anything. Go ahead.
I'm doing all right. I'm not melting. Sometimes decided to finally kick in, so I'm struggling at best I can with moderate temperatures, but my usual form of attire suits me well. So there's the shorts and tee keep me going.
I feel like that's the thing.
I've got my fan.
That's the thing with the UK, isn't it? Is that we don't like hot temperatures, we don't like cold temperatures. We complain no matter what the temperature is, don't we?
We're Goldilocks. It's too hot, it's too cold.
I love cold temperatures. I can't stand hot temperatures.
I'm sort of in between.
Sort of likewise, avoiding melting. I have some Factor 50 on order for going out in the sun on Saturday.
Yeah, me too.
Dress for the temperature you want, not for the temperature you have, which is why I'm
unavoidable. And it's all good.
So the reason I brought this team together is because us four kind of we went together to Time Fracture. John was sort of somebody that we said we're going on this day, and John was like, I'm going on that day too. So it just worked out. Because obviously John, you went with your sister, and so it kind of worked out that way that, obviously it was lovely to go with you and have that.
Alex stalked me.
Yes, I was a massive stalker of John.
Stalked me.
And essentially, so obviously this is an experience that on the base of things, it's 70 quid. Would you guys say overall, is it worth the 70 quid you are paying to get a ticket? I would say off the bat, 60. Absolutely, it's 70 quid for over 16s.
I mean, I would say, the people that are going to see this, obviously, they're going to be Doctor Who fans. For Doctor Who fans, it is worth that money. What I would say on top of that is that actually, because it's something that kind of encourages you to go around in small groups, there could be things that they could do in terms of family tickets, which would be good. If you've got a couple of parents and a couple of kids, knock a bit of money off.
Yeah.
Which would be very handy for them. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, most people will consider it value for money because the people that it appeals to, it delivers exactly what they want.
I think the price varies between more like 50 to 60 quid.
I think for what it is when you get a day, the price is it's £10 more if you're over 16. I think that's how it works. So I think it's on most days 50 quid for under.
I'm getting the website up.
You may also find that we're fully prepared here, people. You may also find that it's to a degree demand led. So weekends, for example, might be more expensive at the moment because you're going to have more people. So yeah, it could be to a degree actually how many tickets have they got left for that session, and so it could be different time slots have got different prices as well, but it's in the region of 50 to 70 pounds. Obviously, it's going to fluctuate from day to day, but that's where we are, people, in the region of 50 to 70 pounds.
So basically, the Friday is £10 more expensive than every other day of the week,
which is pretty much what I just said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, Alex, you were right. For general admission on a Friday, it's £69.95. For general admission on any other day, £59.95.
Yeah.
And then if you're under 16, £10.
And again, on the surface of most families, I understand this, it seems like a lot. but you go to the show and you realize they have put that money in, they have put that effort into the show, that price sort of seems the equivalent of what you would pay for any other theatre show.
I think what you're also missing is the other term is it's immersive theatre. So you are going to a theatre performance uptown, which, you know, I mean, I don't go very much to the theatre myself, but I imagine like if you are going to see a West End show, which is going to be of a similar sort of length, 2 to 2.5 hours, you're going to be paying the best part of 50 to 60 quid for a ticket anyway.
It is comparable. It is comparable. As I say, and it, my making the point about family tickets isn't my saying it's expensive. It's my saying that actually most other attractions will do something like that, and it's maybe just something that they need to look at if they're going to attract families in.
I think the good thing for us as well is obviously we went to one of the early shows where they're still figuring certain things out. Things might change from where but again, the good thing about this show is the replay value, the sort of, you can go back and you can do different things. And I think for me, as somebody that went, it's sort of, because this is the first time I've been to immersive theatre. I don't know about you guys specifically, but it's the first time I've ever done something like this whatsoever. And sort of, you go there and you are part of the story. Like, you're not just guided through it. You have to do certain things which will then affect the story at hand. And I think as a Doctor Who fan, it feels like you're part of a Doctor Who episode, or at least story or serial, depending on where you are and what kind of Who fan you are. You definitely feel like you've contributed to this.
They do sort of create a character for you, don't they? They set it up so that, okay, you're a member of the public, you've been sent, well, the doctor said that you're good at this and you can do this. Come on in, here's a briefing. And then you go into the experience of it. And then each, a certain individual will come and grab a group of you, then another individual will come in and out, and it sort of builds up, and then they're asking you questions and they're building on that. And then you sort of bounce back off each other, you bounce back off the actors. But I just want to add, I think, when it comes to the price of it, I think a lot of people, they're comparing it to what the price of the Doctor Who experience was a few years ago.
Very different.
It's not the Doctor Who experience. It's nothing like the Doctor Who experience whatsoever. So, if that is on anyone, if that's on anyone's minds, it's just going to be like the Doctor Who experience, but a bit longer. Trust me, it's not.
Yeah, and again, I think a good thing is they've put the BBC Worldwide team on, say, makeup and stuff. If you see an Ood, it's not going to be a rubbish theatre version of an Ood. It looks like an Ood you would see in the show. They've got so everything looks authentic. Nothing looks silly.
It's all made by the same people who make the stuff for the show.
I mean, without going into any detail at all, I saw, at least off the top of my head, 4 aliens that we've seen on the show, and they all look pretty authentic.
Yeah.
It's not some botched job. It is actually really authentic costumes, which obviously increases the authenticity of your experience.
There was a certain something
that it's also worth noting that a lot of the costumes are very much inspired by various characters from the show. So a lot of the costumes will be inspired by, say, for example, various doctors or various companions. And again, it's clearly been done with a lot of knowledge and a lot of love. So going around and spotting those things is going to be really, really interesting for people as well.
There's a certain character that Beef, Alex and I encountered, which it was like it had leaped from the TV screen.
Because on paper as well, it's one of those things. I think for a lot of people, when they're like, "Oh, I could see this thing," that in their mind they're thinking, "Oh, I'll see a theatre version of said thing, or I'll see a knockoff version of." But this, you go into it, and every actor is on it. I mean, I think for us as well, I think especially I don't want to put words in your mouth, John, but I think someone like you, the actors, especially someone that's visually impaired, they put you right in the story. They try and include you. They're guides to help you get along the story and include you as much in the story as much as possible. And they are phenomenal at their job.
Yeah, absolutely. You are very much made a part of it. And if you are somebody that, say, for example, might have a a condition where you would say naturally find yourself towards the back of a group, they do kind of work towards you and they deliberately make you a part of it more.
And draw you forward. I think, if you find the idea of
very much, I think they've really clearly realised that dynamic, and they want absolutely everybody to get the most out of this. And so those that may not be quite so able to throw themselves to the front, they're very much mindful of that. And they will kind of, if somebody's say looking a bit lost, they will kind of take someone to one side and get them involved in something, because there's so much going on that you're going to have a story over here, a story over there, a story over there. So many different things going on at the same time. There's always going to be something for someone to do.
Yeah,
I'd just like to add about the lighting and sound effects were they're at the top of their game, especially with sound effects as well, and smoke effects, etc. And again, there's a certain bit that we encountered where the atmosphere was perfect.
Yeah.
It was exactly as you would expect from that scenario and that dynamic. And that's all I can really say about that.
I think that's an important thing as well, is that because this is also they're treating one thing would go horribly wrong and people could just be like, nah, I'm not enjoying this. But the thing is, the story is also unique so that it never becomes boring or monotonous, and you're always moving and you're always doing different things, and you're always interacting with things you would love to do from the show, that you're never like, oh, I'm not enjoying this, And I think, especially from my perspective, who's, again, I don't know about you guys, but never done immersive theatre, I was sort of, how do you sort of challenge that? How do you get into that? And like Connor said earlier, as soon as I met one individual and had that one-on-one, I was involved, I was there.
You were away with it then, weren't you?
The actors are so good that they get you involved. And the thing is that you sort of feel like you're in the Doctor Who universe immediately.
The characters playing the monsters and aliens have nailed the physicality of their characters' performance.
Yes, absolutely.
Very much.
Down
Very
to
much
the
so.
slightest little, mannerism. It's there and it's clear who they are.
Very
And
much
you
so.
know
And
they have rehearsed this, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah. I also have to sort
Very
of
much.
apologise.
The production makes the most of that as well. There are, while you were off doing your little thing, the little thing that I was doing, the production on that was absolutely outstanding.
I mean, John, you had a completely different strand.
If I can just, the lighting, the sound, the timing of it, the way that the guide that was with us worked up to that moment, it was just outstanding.
You had a completely different story strand to us as well, isn't it? So that's the amazing thing, is that when a group of 20 of you go into this thing, none of you will have the exact same story or experience. That you will do different things.
Kind of buddying up together, obviously, but
they bubble you up. But each bubble.
You can take 20 people. You can take 20 people, and they'll have 10 different experiences.
Yeah. And again, I think as well, Swedder, I want to apologize to anyone listening who's expecting spoilers. There'll be no spoilers here of any kind, because that's not what we want to do. We want you to go to this experience.
We're not going to.
And again, maybe in a year's time or however long, once Time Factor's run its course, me and John, or me and Beef, me and Connor can talk about it.
We're not going to mention the fact that Alex met a Naimon.
Yes, I did meet a Naimon. I didn't, but I think as well. The thing is, again, I have to give a shout out
on that point. On that point, I think we can't shy away from the fact that actually, this thing's been open for 2 weeks. There have been people that have tried to spoil it, and let's face it, if you're doing that, you're a
knob. Yeah,
and we're not dickheads.
Yeah. Again, I do have to also give credit to I also do have to give credit to the fact, again, because there's a different also sort of strand away from the story, I have to go to the Time Lord guides or the theatre guides, as it were, that sort of send you around the show, because they're the people that keep you involved, and they have a monumental job of sort of, spreading the sort of the way that you do the show, and they do a great job of including everyone, remembering everyone's names, doing everything. I mean, I remember Beef at one point, you didn't interact with a certain character, and they knew your name somehow. But that shows the commitment to these actors. I don't know whether they have an earwig or some kind of system or something, but they keep you involved. They make you feel like you are part of this monumental story very easily.
Yeah.
Well, what
and
I
bear
was-
in mind, you know, that they're doing it with all this enthusiasm. And bear in mind, they're doing this for X number of shows a day, and for each show, there are like 4 different entry passes, like 4 different entry tranches. So they're continually on it with all of that energy. It's an incredible achievement. Sorry, Bayfire.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is like, yeah, because I've been trying to say this for the past few minutes. I think what it is a lot of people might be put off by the idea of just what it's called, which is immersive theatre, because not many people will have ever been to something like that. And they'll be very daunted by it. And the best way I can sort of try and explain it to people is that once you step through the gates and you meet that first person, you are basically treated as if you are a character in the story. And I think the best way to, like, the closest thing I can attribute it to without sort of like underplaying it, because there is actual drama to it, is a little bit like pantomime. So you are egged on to also get involved in like, oh yes he is, oh no he isn't, and then once you do break that sort of first part, you are there for it. What the guys have said is where there's different like story branches you can take, different side quests, as if you were like playing a computer game, you get side missions or side quests. The very clever thing and the very good thing about it, and this is why I don't think people should necessarily be daunted by it, is that they think, well, if I go, I'm going to just do this bit and I'm not really going to have an overall idea of what's going on for the whole story. But what it is there are points when everything comes together and you will get basically the tail end of a critical point to the story. So then you will still have an overall idea of what is happening and how things are developing. While you haven't done the in-depth part of it, you will still have an overview of the big story. So it's very cleverly done, the way it's all woven together.
Yeah,
it's
and
almost
I think
it's almost like say something like Game of Thrones. If you were a member of one family, you would be part of that overarching narrative, and you would still have an idea of what's going on. And it's incredibly clever how all of those strands interlink and build towards the bigger story.
But you still don't feel like you've missed anything.
Yeah, you don't, because it's brilliantly written. It's
and
brilliantly
also
written.
I think that's a clear path of why to go back and be like, how did these certain people get to this thing? Because again, as well, you get to the end and there are certain bits within the dialogue. I also won't spoil it, but there are certain bits in the dialogue where like these people did this or these people did that. And like, well, what did they do to get this and that? And you're like, I want to be that person that does this and that. And I think as well, the thing is that, again, like I said, the guides and the actors, they're very good at including you. So even in the finale, when, to be honest, it's very dialogue based for the actors, you still feel like you have an involvement in how that ending plays out and that sort of thing. Because obviously, to be honest, again, this is a downfall, but obviously the thing is, you're always going to get the same ending. There's not going to be the ending never changes. But I think the interesting thing is the best thing is the saying is the best thing. It's not about it's about the journey, not how you get there. You know, it's not about the ending. It's about how you get there, type thing. And I think that is the perfect thing about Time Fracture is that you will never have the same way of getting to that certain point.
And I think it's also fair to say that though the ending never changes, your perspective of it, depending on the past that you've been through, might.
I mean, to be fair,
you know, you might be in one or two different places at that ending, where actually, you're interacting with it in a slightly different way. So you can still get a slightly different ending to what you've done previously. But you're right in that it is more about how to get there.
I mean, Jono, me and Connor and Beef were on opposite sides to you towards the end, and we were essentially not battling against each other, because that's the way of putting it. But we were on opposite sides.
We were rebelling.
Yes.
We were rebelling against the other. There's like a small group of us that...
Theatre. Yeah.
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 It was like the Houses of Parliament.
It was very much like the kind of, like that kind of 1830 thing where they set the lads against the lasses and get everybody singing along with different songs, sort of thing.
Alex, a
Yeah.
good comparison is it's like the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah, I'd say so. And
Oh,
again,
no.
I think,
I mean, there were far less cunts.
again,
Oh yeah, definitely.
by the way, I apologize for any of you listening to Time Factor as kids who want to go, and I apologize for the word cunt, but that's what we do on Time's podcast, so I do apologize.
Bleep it, bleep it,
But-
bleep it.
Again.
No,
They'll
it's
hear it in
fine.
years to come. It's
No,
fine.
no.
Another question I've been asked as well by someone else who sort of like who had seen the adverts for it but didn't know, and said, can I just go to this if I just like the classic,
Yes.
Who and specifically one character?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's also not mutually exclusive. It's not like you can only go to this if you like the new show. You could only go to this if you like the classic show. You can only go to this if you've seen the whole lot. You can go to it with any level of knowledge.
There's
I think
there's something for every type of Doctor Who fan.
Whatever your experience.
Again, this is
We'll
sort of
take it out.
it's a positive and a negative depending on your stance, because this has nothing to do with a certain Doctor or a certain era. Sorry, I apologize. This happens on a podcast.
If you are only into one specific Doctor, then you might come out of it going, well, I'm only into that specific Doctor, but you're still going to get something out of it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and
You know,
again,
I think it speaks for itself that the wider your perspective of Doctor Who and the bigger the fan you are of it,
The more you can get out of it.
what you
Yeah.
take from it. But even if you are just a kind of Tennant stan or whatever, you'll go there and you'll get something. You'll enjoy something. You'll see characters you've seen in the show.
yeah, there is,
You know,
and also there is a
if you're
specific.
only a fan of the 60s show. If you're only a fan of the 60s show, again, you'll go there. You'll pick something up from it. You might be a bit confused that it's not all in black and white in front of you, but you'll enjoy it.
There was also
I
a
believe-
specific. There is also without going to spoilers. There's a specific set where there will be a lot of fans happy because they will spot one thing or another, an Easter egg here or there. And
Yeah.
I think that's, again, I think that's the beautiful thing is that if you're just the most, sort of passive Who fan, you'll enjoy it without any knowledge of mass Doctor Who. You don't need to go there with any, massive. I mean, John, again, your sister went. I think she had a great time, and obviously she's a Who fan because of yourself, but she's not obviously as big as a Who fan of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I would come out. She is quite. Yeah, she's quite. She is quite a Who fan on the quiet. She's just not compared to me. So I mean, but her perspective of it is very different to mine in terms of, I'm very much a Pertwee stan. She's very much Tom Baker, and she's got the kids and they love Jodie. So but yeah, she kind of knows it, but she probably is more of a casual fan than I am. But I would say, and I mean, it's a big statement, but I would say it's impossible for anybody to go to this and not be swept up in it and get passionate, because actually the performers are the ones that make it work. It's their enthusiasm that pulls you along and you just end up going with it. Even if you're a little bit cynical to begin with, you end up leaving that at the door. And
By the end of it, you really care.
Just going with the flow.
Well, I definitely think
Really
the more
that are taking you on this journey.
the more you get involved, the more you get out of it. To be
And
honest with you.
that ending is actually, you feel, there's some strong emotions to be felt during, the final
I got
chapter.
goosebumps. I got goosebumps.
It's sort of like victory. Oh God, no, this might happen. Oh, they're going against us. What?
Yeah, it's not
you
it's
mentioned
not a
earlier.
simple ending.
Why is the other, why is the other audience members
Yeah.
not? Why are they going against what everyone
Yeah,
else is doing?
Yeah.
What have they been told as versus to us who have gone on this particular path and have been told something else? But I don't want to alienate Beef and Connor for this particular segment, but I do want to quickly touch on the fact that me and John obviously have disabilities of certain zones. I do want to touch on those those, I'll go to John first, particularly about, as visual impairment. How did you find it? You can be positive, there can be some negatives. Be honest, because this is what this podcast is all about, because overall we said the story is fantastic and the presentation's great.
I was obviously very upfront with them. I am a guide dog owner. I got a bit of advice in advance from Beef where, he kind of said, actually, there's a lot going on. There's going to be a lot of kind of noises and stuff. And so based on that, I took the decision that actually I'd be going in with my cane. So I arranged for them to look after Sparky for a couple of hours while I was in there, which they were absolutely fine with. And he was absolutely fine with, so he just went and slept in their office for a couple of hours, basically.
Big up Sparks.
They're very, very, very accommodating in that way. And yeah, they do make that bit of extra effort. If they see that you have an additional need or a disability, they do make that bit of extra effort to make sure that you're okay and to get you involved. There are things that I personally feel would work slightly better for people with a visual impairment, but I really don't want to be critical about this because this is a show that's been in town for 2 weeks,
and also this is the very start.
They are very keen. They are very keen to get feedback. They are very keen to improve.
Yeah, without going into detail.
I'm still, So I think that things like adding an element of, say, touch tour, or actually adding an element of a one-to-one guide, are something that they could look at, and they probably will look at and would assist it. Because whenever I do anything like this, I compare it to the Warner Brothers Studio Tour in Leavesden, which I've done a couple of times.
Has everyone done that, by the way? Just out of interest, I've done that.
Yeah.
Just incredibly. It's different because it's not that immersive experience, but it is incredibly disability friendly in terms of literally you have somebody going around with you at your pace, and there are elements of touch to it and things like that. And that's a little tweak that I think that these guys will make down the line, which will make it even better for somebody in my position.
Yeah,
but as it is, I really can't fault them for a firm that's been running for 2 weeks.
And again, I think without going into detail, me, Beef, and Connor got lucky to be in contact with certain people about the disability stuff and things like that. So we obviously were able to give John some pointers and stuff like that. But again, I could tell you categorically, without going into detail, these people care. We're not just saying that as people that have gone. They care about trying to make this the most accessible and the most.
I think before we went with some questions that John had, and like I said, points that John's raised, and they were very forthcoming in saying, those are something that we're looking to do. It's just we've got to get to that point, but that is our ultimate goal. So you've got to take your hat off to them that they are really working hard, like you said, you're doing that.
Yeah.
The Doctor Who fandom is incredibly diverse, and there are a lot of disabled fans. They're going to be thoroughly aware of that, and they want to accommodate for everybody.
Yeah, and again, from someone that's in a wheelchair, this is very difficult to talk about within spoiler territory, but there is a section of the sequence I can't do yet as a wheelchair user, but I've been informed, and we can also back this up. I know Beef and Connor can in conversation. We have been told that they're going to try and way to figure that out, maybe switch the script around, do some stuff to make that bit particularly work, so that every time I go, I don't have to do the same thing over and over again. And again, that's what they're all about.
An important thing that we've got to remember here as well is that until the end of the month, they're still in previews. We went to one of the previews. They're still working on the show. Yes, we're seeing the show in the evening, but during the day, they're working on it and they're changing it constantly. So, if we went say we went next month again, it could have completely transformed again.
And it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
surprise me, as it's due to be there at the moment. They've said till I think April next year that they'll add new story elements to it anyway. So if you go early in the run and then you decide to go later in the run, that there may be new bits added to give you a more something different out of each visit, as well as all the different storylines you get.
I mean,
Yeah,
and that is why you could get this.
There's so much out there in the there's so much out there in the Doctor Who universe that if they wanted to keep this fresh, they could do it for years by adding little bits, taking monsters out, adding different elements in, and as long as the
New
demand's
doctors,
there,
potentially companions.
as long as the demand's there for people to see it, they can keep developing it and keep on going.
Yeah, I think this
once more people have seen it, it will definitely become more popular.
Again,
but also the reason why. Go on, Alex.
No, I was going to say to you, go first, please. Honestly.
What I was going to say was what you were just saying is about changing different elements over time and stuff. That is why these things exist. Not only because there is different story strands, but because they will change it. That is why they're planning for people to go up to 10 times.
For the podcast listeners, Connor is holding up a unit card where you can get a different.
Yeah, sorry, I forget that Alex doesn't just publish these on YouTube now. But yeah, so you get these cards, which every time you go, you get a stamp, and every other time you'll get a badge for a unit badge, and basically you go up for the ranks. I just think that's a really nice little bonus for those who do go time and time again.
Yeah.
Just if you do have one, don't forget it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the budget only allows us to go for about 5 more minutes. Again, I don't want to talk about this any longer than it has to, because otherwise we're just running through and not really saying too much. Again, probably around February next year, we can do a whole spoilery review once a lot of people have gone. But as I said, we're also in previews. We don't want to just spoil the whole show, because around February, everyone would have gone who wants to go at least once, most likely. And if you haven't gone yet, you probably won't. But we will do it. I think bringing us four together again to do a spoilery sort of chat about what we did, what we got up to, would be a great show to do. We're not going to do that here. But I will say, if you had to, we'll go around the room really quickly to end it and say, if you wanted to sum up the experience one by one, I'll go last. I'll let John go first, then Beef, then Connor, because that's the order on my screen. Go around and say the experience, like a minute summary, and we'll wrap it up. John.
Okay. This is clearly a passion project. It's been written and produced by people that believe in what they are doing, and that entirely shows from the minute you walk in the door to the minute you step out at the other end 2.5 hours later. You can tell your own story at your own pace. You can take it all, you are in control of what's going on. And it's, the amount of genius that has been used in writing this and putting this together, I cannot fathom. Literally everybody that I've spoken to or heard from that's been to it has absolutely loved it. And, I've heard nothing negative at all. I've got nothing negative to say on it. I just can't wait to go again, to be honest. Because the love that's been put into this show, you just feel it as you're walking around.
Beef, anything you want to add to that particularly?
Basically, it's an amazing space. It's not. There's not a point where the world breaks from when you come in to when you go out, including the interval area. There is an interval that you get midway through the show, as you would with any theatre performance, but it is still in world, and you're still not taken out of the story. Like John said, a lot of time and effort has been put in by the creative team. There's some of the same people, if you've ever been to Secret Cinema, it's some of the same team who've done that on The Great Gatsby as well. And it's carried through by a really skilled and enthusiastic and on-point cast that really take it all the way through. So it's really easy to find via public transport. If you're worried about finding your way around London, it's very easy to get to. Very, from that point of view,
it's the closest tube is Bond Street. The closest tube is Bond Street, which, by the way, if you're going via Jubilee line, is accessible. So that's I don't know
And
if it
yeah,
is
yeah.
via Central, but if you're going by Jubilee, I know for a fact it's accessible.
It's a great space. It's only going to get better as time goes on. And one of my only hopes is that they'll introduce something like a season pass. So if you wanted to do a bulk buy of tickets, that perhaps you could get something cheaper as it goes along, which is something that they said they may be looking to once the initial run has started to get into full swing.
Connor, anything you want to add?
Well, we're running short on time, so I basically what the other two guys just said. If anyone's anyone's considering going, go. Don't compare it to Doctor Who Experience. It's nothing like Doctor Who Experience.
It's better.
It's so much more. It's so much more, and there's so much more involved with it. Honestly, I can't recommend this show enough. Again, it's lovingly crafted, put together, authentic as well. It's very authentic. And I suppose without repeating John or Beef too much, that's it. But my last note will be, during the interval, get the solar flare.
I think my last point to put is just thank you to cast, creative. Again, I don't want to mention who took us round specifically because I don't want to give away who they were, what they did, that sort of thing. But thank you to those guys. If you want to look, I know Beef mentioned it in tweets and I quote tweeted it, which you can find at AlexKing_Dom. And I think you're at the Beef Head on Twitter, aren't you? Beef?
Indeed.
So if you do want to look what specific cast members took us around, you can.
Or if you wanted to ask questions about it, to be honest with you, non-spoiler based questions.
If you wanted to ask spoilers there, we might be able to give you slight ones, but we're not going to give away everything. If you wanted to ask specific things about specific, if it's
I think certainly from an accessibility point.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah. And again, look, this show, as John put, there were early previews when we went, they're going to keep improving. We have, been told under, for certain reasons that they are going to keep improving. They have the best team working on this show that give a damn and they will care. I say thank you to the whole show. I say thank you to the experience that we had and the opportunity we had to experience this in the way that we did. And I think it's just, we're going to go again for sure, multiple times. I think we've got a thing going around in November. I won't tell you what date we're planning to go in November, but if you're a Doctor Who fan, you can probably figure it out. We'll probably go a few times after that. I know Beef, this podcast is going out tomorrow, so you're going to be going again on Sunday for the second time. Also, Beef, do you want to tell the fans your particular thing you're doing every time you go to Time Faction, just for a laugh to end the podcast?
Well, it's all about time travel, isn't it? So I think the only thing that I can do is every time that I go, I will be dressed exactly the same way because it will just be time repeating itself over and over again. So whether there'll be a realization that, oh no, it's that guy again in that very distinctive T-shirt, I don't know.
I mean, you made a friend, didn't you? So I feel like you have to interact with that particular friend a little bit.
As you know, I'm a very friendly chap, and yes. My enthusiasm knows no bounds.
Beef, there was one point where you did Orange Justice. Obviously, we can't talk about what particular bit, but there was an opportunity where you were able to pull out the Orange Justice dance.
That's it. I'm here for the kids.
Beef went all out. But anything else you want to add before we wrap up, guys? At all? I mean, as I said, you can follow Beef at the Beef Head. Connor, you've got a weird handle, so I'll let you speak it yourself because
I am Connor63.
Yeah, I didn't know whether it was because your Instagram is like Konar, isn't it? Konar12 something.
That's my Instagram. No one cares about my Instagram.
Yeah, so I get it mixed up. I get mixed up.
My Twitter is I am Connor63.
And you can follow John at JohnBoy_Cook if my knowledge is not mistaken.
You can indeed.
I'm amazing.
You can indeed.
And you can follow me. And you can follow me at. Who knows my Twitter handle?
Alex, what you should do on the YouTube version of this podcast, put our ats, our little tags.
This is effort.
On the screen.
I don't. Can anybody remember?
Professionalism.
Connor, I'll do this if you remember my Twitter handle.
AlexKingdom_Dom.
I would say if you also the the website has an FAQ section, which is very helpful, to be
Yes.
honest with you.
Yes.
If
And
you,
there's the full cast on there as well now.
yeah,
Cast and creative.
if there's an email address, if you need to contact them. Also, if you are a Twitter user as well, you can DM them, and they are very good at coming back to you if you've got a question that's very specific to whatever your trip is going to be. So, yeah, and like I say, if you can do it, the more you put in, the more you get out of it. But that's just how it is.
Yep.
At the end of the day, guys, just go.
Yeah. That's kind of that's our thing. But I will be back next.
You won't regress it.
I will be back next week with Owen and perhaps John, because I don't remember what his list of Doctor Who stories got to review. We are reviewing The Time Meddler on the show next week. So if John wants to join us for that,
I think I have to do that with you just to see Owen's reaction.
Yep. So we're reviewing that one next week on the show. And then me and Macaulay will be reviewing Spider-Man the next week after that. And then Beef will be back for Thor Ragnarok down the line as well. So get excited.
Nice.
We're on the way to the end game now, chaps. But until then.
When am I on again? Do you not want me on the podcast, Alex?
Oh God. Anyway, And, until that point, stay safe, chaps, because obviously we need it right now. The world we're so close, guys. Stay safe, everyone. We'll see you guys soon. Look after yourselves. Shut up.
Can I ask you the question?
Take care. Bye-bye.